Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Want to welcome to the program Singrid Steinmetz, ICU nurse and member of the California Nurse Association, which represents nearly 2,200 nurses at Long Beach Medical Center who are going on a one-day strike tomorrow. Singrid, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us, if you could, just give us a sense of this Long Beach Medical Center.
Well, as you said, I'm a registered nurse. I've been there 30 years, 27 in the ICU. I'm the chief nurse rep. I'm on the bargaining team, so I'm very involved. Of course, I know people throughout the hospital. And we've been having issues with patient safety. We've been having issues with recruitment and retention. We've been at the bargaining table. We've talked about it. And the employer did not seem to want to address those issues. So we decided if we gave them the strike notice, maybe that would put a little pressure to get them to come. We also gave them 14 days notice because we wanted them to have the opportunity to get back to bargaining and add dates. So we gave it on a Thursday. Friday, we had a bargaining session, and the table across from us didn't have any of the employers there to negotiate. They called us multiple times, and we told them, look, we'll bargain Saturday and Sunday. Sunday was Mother's Day. We'll bargain every day up to that day to try to resolve this and get a contract. And they were, no, we're not coming. We're going to go hire nurses instead. So they went and hired the strike nurses. Some of the issues going on in the hospital as far as safety, we've had machetes brought into the hospital, guns with bullets, other little small things.
I want to hear that, but I mean, tell us about the facility, because I'm across the country, don't know.
Okay.
Like
we're a very large campus. There's actually several hospitals on our facility. So we have Long Beach Memorial, which is an adult facility. We have Miller's Children's, which is a children's hospital, and then an extension of Miller's Children's. It's called the Village, and those are all outpatient clinics. Very important because they try to keep the youth from actually being admitted to the hospital. So these nurses manage them, take care of them. They have protocols where they can actually adjust insulin doses and stuff. So these are highly trained and skilled nurses in like 14 different specialties. The hospital, it's become a big thing, profits over patients. So they just laid off 78 nurses. 47 of them were from the outpatient clinic. So it's going to be detrimental to those children who need that help. As far as the tower, we're a very high specialty facility. We're a level 1 trauma center. We have a stroke program. We have a very big cardiac program on our facility, and that requires a lot of specialty training. And if we can't recruit and retain our nurses, how do we have the skill set to take care of them? I myself am an ICU nurse, and in the ICU, we have to take care of stroke patients with drains in their heads. We have to take care of patients who have had any trauma. It could be an automobile accident, multiple gunshot, or something as simple as a fall off a ladder. But all those, depending on the age, can have detrimental outcomes. And if you don't have the nurses that are trained to take care of them, sometimes it makes it hard to do a patient assignment. So I know people talk about acuity levels all the time. What happens with us, we have 2 patients. But if you have a patient who's on maybe 7 life-saving drips and they have a drain and they're on machines, there should have 1 nurse to that patient. But because of the lack of staff, we have to have 2 patients that are like that. And that's not safe for the patients.
So so I can understand here. So you have half the staffing essentially you need for those type of patients.
Not always. I'm just saying maybe we need 24 nurses on the floor, but we only have 22. So maybe 2 of those patients that should have been a 1-to-1 are now a 2-to-1.
Okay.
So, that's hard. That makes it stressful, causes moral distress for the nurse because they may not be able to give the care they want and that's needed for their patient.
Who owns the Long Beach Medical? Like, who is the management that you're dealing with?
Well, I guess it's the board of directors and our CEOs. So, but that's, we've been through 3 CEOs in the last 3 years.
And is it a nonprofit?
It's a nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit.
Mhm.
Okay. And so are you guys still in contract, or is the contract about to expire, or
The contract has expired. We're hoping that strike tomorrow will get the employer to come back to the table, because ultimately we want to be in there taking care of our patients.
right?
We called for a 1-day strike. The hospital has locked us out for 4 additional days. So we won't be in there taking care of our patients. And I mean, I've been here 30 years. Clearly, I have a love for it. And to be locked out, that's very demoralizing. You're telling me I can't take care of the patients in the hospital that I want to, but you're willing to go and spend all this money instead of trying to get stuff like we're asking for the workplace violence. We're asking for metal detectors at every entrance, or actually they're called weapons detectors. We're asking in the ICU, we're a locked unit, and you're getting people like at their worst time. They're being told that their loved one's brain dead, or the injuries from an accident are going to be fatal. We can't do anymore. And that causes a lot of stress on these families. And we've had nurses and staff assaulted verbally and physically. We've had holes punched in the wall. I've seen family members assault each other. And we're on the 7th floor, security is on the basement. So it'd be nice to have a security guard. And we asked, and they're saying no. We're asking for training. We're asking for all the security guards and the staff to have de-escalation training, so that when these situations start happening, we can maybe, clear it up and help these people understand, the families, what's going on, so that it doesn't get into a violent outburst.
And is that the entirety of the ask from the nurses?
It's the two things. We want safe environment, and we want a contract for recruitment and retention. I have to say, since in the last 3 years, we have lost probably an average of 30 to 50 nurses in the ICU every year, not just over the 3 years. That's a lot of training. It takes 12 weeks to train a nurse, and then you give them what we call a buddy for several more months to help kind of oversee them. They have somebody to go talk to. And what's happening is we don't have we took away all the benefits for night shift nurses. So now they don't want to work on nights, they want to come to days. So our night shift is very inexperienced. And like I was saying, we have a very high skill set. And if you don't have nurses with experience, you can't fill those positions. We do rapid response. That's if there's an adult on one of the other floors that's decompensating, they'll call us and we go down, and we've got like order sets where we can start treating them. We have respect with the doctors. We can call the doctor and say, this is what's going on. And we get orders to try to stabilize them. If we can't stabilize them, we'll take them to a higher level of care. We have stroke nurses, and they go to every single stroke in the hospital, adult stroke, and they help manage that patient until they either get to surgery or to a different level of care. We have nurses that do codes. So any adult code in the entire campus. So that could even be in the children's facility. We have a Todd Cancer, which is where they do outpatient chemotherapy. Every one of those, we have to respond. Sometimes we beat the doctors there, and we're all what they call advanced cardiac life support. So we're, ordering, give them epi, do this. It's a lot of responsibility. And if you don't have the nurses with the skill set, because you have such a young population in your department, it weakens the unit, and the patients aren't getting what they deserve.
So it sounds to me like the work that they're requiring of folks like you is difficult enough that a lot of people are leaving. Once they get used to the job, and and you would think. I mean, I'm trying to walk through the calculation of management at this point. If they're willing to pay to train these people, they're willing to have a buddy there, which makes it obviously that less efficient, and then lose them and know that they're losing whatever percentage it is of the workforce. after they've been specially trained,
It's expensive.
they must not care about the people being trained, because rather than make it also seems like
the patients.
It seems like some type of very short term, year to year type of budget type of issue, because I would assume long term, if you provide those benefits up front, long term, it's going to pay off because your training costs.
Exactly. And we're training them. We train them. People used to come to our hospital. We had it was the educator for the critical care. And she used to say she's trained pretty much all of Orange County, because the nurses would come in, they'd get a couple years, some would stay and some would leave, because we had such an incredible training program. If you want to go into any specialty, we will train you. But during COVID, we lost, I think, 48 nurses in 1 year. And at that time, it was $30,000 to train a nurse. And I can remember talking to our management going, we have to do something. This was our CEO. And I'm like, look how much money. And I actually made little cards and hung them on 2 strings. And I said, this is what we've just lost. And each one said 30,000 on it. So it didn't make sense to me that they didn't want to do something to try to prevent them from leaving. It's, we have a very
How many CEOs
hospital.
have you had?
We've had 3 CEOs in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me that my guess is that the CEO and maybe the C-suite, maybe even the board on some level, they get paid based upon a certain benchmark each year. And if it doesn't, nobody's thinking in terms of calculating a benchmark that runs 5 or 10 years out. Because I imagine you have people that you've trained and stay there. You've been there for 30 years. I imagine there's some folks like yourself who've been there for a long time, because once you get good at that job,
you stay.
You stay.
Well, especially when, we would call it it's our family. We spend, a third of our adult life with these coworkers. And, I can't speak for every department, but like ER, ICU, NICU, you have to trust everybody around you. Because if your patient starts decompensating, you need people to come help you with that patient, and you need somebody to go over and keep an eye on your other patient. And mind you, they have 2 patients. So I always tell people, like, if you go into a code, like a cardiac arrest or respiratory arrest, it's like watching a play. Everybody walks in, they do their part, and hopefully, you get an encore and the patient makes it through the whole code. And it's to watch one. And what happens is you come in as a new nurse, you're more watching, or maybe you go in and you do chest compressions. And then as you get a little more comfortable, you go in and you start pushing meds. But it takes time to build up jumping in and doing all that. Some of these things, like those roles I was telling you, you need to have 3 to 5 years in the ICU before you're allowed to even do that. So if they're leaving at 1 and 2 years, how do we just don't have enough experience. Exactly. Yeah. So we need a recruit and retention program that is competitive with the surrounding hospitals. UCI is a really big hospital very close to us. They have phenomenal benefit package. They just bought out 3 hospitals, and people are leaving and going there. And it's sad, because it's like, this is my family, please don't leave, stay. We're going to get this worked out. I've been here 30 years. It's only been really difficult the last couple years, because it just doesn't seem like, it seems like they're taking profit over patients. That's more important than the patient and the patient outcome. And that's really hard.
What are they trying to do by locking you guys out for 4 days? Is it their way of saying we can just bring in other nurses, or is it that they're trying?
I think it's kind of like retaliation, and they've sent mixed messages, because they've locked us out, but then they'll go to a nurse that's not scheduled to work the strike day and say, well, do you want to come in the rest of the week? And that's an NRB violation. They cannot do that. It's either all or nothing. You can't pick and choose a couple of people to come in. So I can't, it's hard for me to speak to that. We're just hoping that there's enough pressure from the community that the hospital comes back to the bargaining table and we can resolve these issues. Because ultimately our biggest thing is patient care and patient safety and safety for the nurses. We've had nurses that, like I said, they've been assaulted, hiding in a closet because a family member was looking for them. That's not okay. That's not a comfortable work environment. I shouldn't go to work and be worried that someone's going to hit me or punch me or start a fight in front of me. And so we are fighting for that.
What can
And
the community do to help you guys? And
let them, they can say, we want to be in a safe hospital. We don't, I mean, if you're coming to the hospital, you don't want to worry that you're in a double room with somebody and the person next to you brought a weapon in. And if we don't have those weapon detectors, you can come in the front door and go into the ER. The only door that has any type of weapon detector is the ER door. But if you come in the main lobby, you kind of zigzag around, you go into the ER, you just go through a door, and that's it.
How have you been protecting yourselves or trying, I mean, without management support?
Well, a lot of people have left because it was too distressing for them. They couldn't.
But even you, right?
No, I haven't left. I'm there.
No, I mean, in terms of what.
Oh, I witnessed it. I came out of an elevator with one family member, and the family was upset with what was going on. And the two families, they were sisters and brothers, started yelling at each other. I went out because it's locked. They can't get out of the lobby unless they can badge out or we click them in. I ran around to let because the door I went out had no phones. I ran around the other side of the lobby, let them know. By the time I got there, the person who had walked out of the elevator with me was on the floor. Her grandmother and her two sisters were kicking her. And I was like, what is going on? And, security came up and they de-escalated, but we need to get that before it hits that point.
Yeah.
We shouldn't, it's not fair to the family members. It's not fair to the colleagues. We had another situation where, I don't know if you're familiar, but Jehovah's Witnesses don't accept blood products. And we had a patient. I went to a rapid. She said no, she knew she needed it, but she says, no, I don't want any. When she got to where she couldn't make decisions for herself, her husband said, go ahead and give the blood product. But by then she was too compensated and she went into cardiac arrest. And 45 minutes later, we called it. And the brother was so upset, the patient's brother was so upset, he came running in the room. We couldn't get out. And he is swinging his arms at his brother-in-law. And it's like, I shouldn't have to, most people don't have that type of an environment at their work. Right. I shouldn't have to defend myself. I should be focused 100% on taking care of my patient and giving the best care I can for the best outcome.
So folks should call the Long Beach Medical Center, tell them, support their nurses, provide them security, provide them benefits so that they stay and can develop a relationship with the facility, their fellow nurses, and their patients. Singrid, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Over the next 4 or 5 days, and hopefully you'll get management to pay attention to what seem like incredibly reasonable asks for a work environment.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. I just wanted to also let you know, I mean, we have, CNA represents a lot of facilities, and Alhambra Hospital Medical Center in the city of Alhambra, which is probably maybe 30 miles from us, they're in bargaining and they're having the same safe patient care issues. So they're actually going to be striking tomorrow in Alhambra. So I wish them the best in their bargaining and that they can get a fair, equitable contract as well. Great.
Singrid Steinmetz, thank you so much. And we'll link to the Long Beach Medical Facility so that people can get in touch there as well.
Thank you very much, Sam. We really appreciate that. And thanks for inviting me on your show.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, George Joseph, investigative reporter for The Guardian US, will be joining us. His latest piece out today is an investigation of United Healthcare secretly been paying nursing homes that helped it gain Medicare enrollees and reduced hospitalizations. Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.